Hey there, restaurant pros. David Scott Peters here, creator of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula and your coach. I'm really thrilled about today's webinar because this is really our opportunity to make change in our business. What do I mean by that? Well, we've been hit with higher food costs like no other time in our life, where it's not just one or two products, it's everything going up. We've got a situation where sales are lower, that we've got to pivot our businesses, and whether you're phase 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be, depending on where you're calling from or listening to right now. The truth of the matter is, we've got to make changes to our business. Now, if you spend any time with me, you know the importance of budgets and recipe costing cards. We're going to touch on each one of those as the most important systems you could possibly have in your business, because we can't go back to the old ways we did things. We can't just eyeball portioning. We can't just guess what something costs. We can't just take for granted that a national average is the number we run our food cost number for our business, because your restaurant's not average. So what are we going to do today? Today, we're going to dive into pulling back the curtain on your menu's food cost to literally save you thousands of dollars every single month. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is extremely powerful. The bottom line is, what we're going to be doing here is kind of showing you that a typical restaurant runs about 7 to 9% over their ideal food cost. 7 to 9 points. That is a dramatic change to your bottom line. And we're going to make that change into a positive for you. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is David Scott Peters. I'm creator of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. And I grew up my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey, where I worked for the toughest manager I know. If you ever worked for your mom, you know it sucks. I hated every minute of it. Now, why? Because my mom worked my sister and I twice as hard as everybody else, said there'd be no favoritism. Now, while I hated it as a teenager, she did me a favor, because every job after, I elevated quickly because I had a work ethic like nobody else around me. So she did me a favor. I then eventually worked for an independent brew pub and cafe in the early 90s called Coyote Springs Brewing Company and Cafe. And this is in the time when brew pubs were opening one a week. It was unbelievable. Our first location was a cash cow, hand over fist money. Our second location was much like owning a boat. Own a boat? A hole in water and tree throw money. And as one made it, the other one sucked it dry. Well, this is where I developed systems. Systems for every aspect of the business to control our costs, to change things around. But it's more importantly where I learned probably the number one lesson, and that's the importance of cash. That profits don't pay your bills, cash does. Because as we were struggling, we had to figure out how we could pay our bills. Now, doesn't that feel a little bit like it is today? Well, that's where systems come in to actually help you change your world and change your reality, budgets, and so on. I later moved on to, as I moved up from bartender, manager to operations manager of two locations, I became the director of operations of a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain here in Arizona called Famous Sam's. Now, as a franchisor, I came in and I redid the training system, brought in my own operations team, opened 8 stores. We were going gangbusters. The guys who bought the company wanted to take it public. It was crazy. In under a year, they damn near bankrupted the company. As upper management took off, I said, I'm not sticking around for this. So I left and I went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, Management, Human Resources, Wines, and Spirits. So my chefy types, as we go through the food part of this webinar, right? It's all about food. Do know that I can't cook. I have 0 knife skills. You do not want to see me on saute or grill. But I want to be very clear that with the right systems in place, I can run any of your kitchens. I can order based on budget and par levels. I can schedule off opening and closing, staffing guides, budgets. I can open and close every station off opening and closing side work checklists. There's nothing I can't do for managing a kitchen. What I can't do is teach somebody how to cook. And so for those of our owners who don't have strong culinary skills, this is the importance of systems, that things are run your way, that it's your system, your process, your way, because you could run your business no matter who's in charge of your restaurant's kitchen. Now, as I was teaching, I was consulting. The minority shareholders of Famous Sam's were one of my clients, and they kept asking me to come back because now they were the majority shareholders. And I kept saying no, no, no. And it was about 1 month before my first child was born. I said, okay. And I walked into a disaster. The company should have been bankrupt, should have been done, over. Yet I was told, hey man, you got to turn this company around and sell it in 5 years. I missed that goal by 3 months. I know what it is to be an independent operator. I know what makes Chain successful. It's my job to give you the same systems and tools that Chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do well, and that's make money. Now, in 2003, I started coaching independent restaurants. I started a company that was a coaching and training company, literally for independents, doing that same thing, providing you the same systems and tools that Chains use without losing our independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do well, and that's make money, to be a broken record. And it was a magical thing. It started in 2003, started building. I had a mastermind group, and I had all these other coaching members, and I had to grow. And I started bringing on coaches and consultants. And next thing you know, we built software. And for the last decade, I built this software package that handles everything from your back office, your manager log, cash controls, to scheduling and labor controls, complete food, beverage, and merchandise systems, recipe cards, ordering, inventory, prep, key item reports, weigh sheets, the whole bit. And in June of 2019, my business partner and a group of satisfied users bought me out. I decided to take that cash out. And for the last, since 2003, just literally right after that, what did I do? I started this company, Take Action Enterprises, LLC. Otherwise, you know me as davidscottpeters.com. Back to my roots as a trainer coach, giving you the same systems and tools that Chains use. But the difference is I've reimagined myself in the sense of really focusing on training. Because when I had a software company, I left too many of you in the dust. Because if you didn't want to use my software, you couldn't have my coaching. Well, now that has changed. I don't care what software package you're in. Whether it's my old company, a different company, you have piecemeal. The truth of the matter is, I believe this, and I even believed it for my members when I had my old company. And that's this. The greatest systems in the world that you don't use on a daily basis are worthless. Bad systems used on a daily basis are priceless. So the key is putting a system in place for everything you do. And I don't care what it is. As long as you use it, you'll see results. Now, what are we going to cover? This is about a 90-minute webinar. I'm going to try and pull back a little bit if I can get done 70, 75 minutes that I can leave question and answer open for you, but be prepared. There's a lot of content here because we're going to talk about the 3 numbers you must know to have any chance to make money. 3 numbers, not a food cost that you get from a national average. What drives me nuts is people say to me, oh, David, my food cost should run 34%. That's what the NRA shows when a study they've done that an average restaurant is a 34% food cost. Well, shit, is your restaurant average? Are you on the same street corner, same price point, same style of service, same quality product, same? No. Your restaurant isn't average. And if you run your business off of one number, actual food costs based on an industry average, you could be losing thousands. Or worse, you've got a chef, somebody trying to make a number that is false, lower than it should be, and all of a sudden they're going to cheat you out, meaning cheat the guest of product quality, cheat the guest of literally quantity. So it's really important that we're going to understand 3 numbers. We're going to understand budgeted, actual, and ideal food cost. And I will tell you, you may have come on my webinar and been ignorant to the fact that you need to know all 3. But by the time we're finished, you're going to understand it's so important. Now, I don't care how fast we get to getting those 3 numbers in place, but you will understand that when you leave this webinar, that if you don't use all 3 numbers, knowing full well you have to get there, and you decide not to, then now we've reached stupid because you know better. Now, I'm not telling you it's going to take 2 minutes to put this all together. It's going to take time. As long as you understand that's what you need to work towards, I've done my job. Now, we're going to go beyond the math. Like when we start talking about cost of goods sold, it's math. It's literally beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending use divided by sales, like it's math. But we need to go beyond that to understand where the numbers come from, how they all fit together, how you can use them to make change in your business. Leave the bad habits in the rearview mirror. Go forward, proactively manage your business, make the money you deserve because the margins are disappearing. Do I need to tell you that? Like, I keep having, when I post on Facebook and welcome people to this webinar, some people are like, oh, hey, you don't understand, things are different now. Shit, yes, I know they're different. But the truth of the matter is the message I've been delivering for decades is the same. The difference is you can't go back to your old way. That's why today is extremely important to put you on a path to success, to be able to handle these rising food costs, rising labor costs. Now is your time to take action. We're going to talk about how we put different controls in place. I'm going to give you a list of controls that you can put in place to take back control of your food cost. And I'm going to finish up somewhere in this. I'm going to talk about recipe costing cards. I'm not going to teach you recipe costing cards. I could spend an hour and a half on recipe cards alone. What I'm going to do is show you why they're so damn important. The two major things you can do that will literally change your bottom line if you're willing to put the effort in. Now, here's the deal. What are we talking about? We're focusing on food costs. Now, this works for bottled beer, draft beer, wine, liquor. They're all the same. It's the same stuff. We just have different numbers, but we're focusing on food today. And so we're going to understand budgeted versus actual versus ideal food cost to truly understand your numbers in your business. Now, here's a graphic of the three numbers. Our budget, right, is setting ourselves up for what do we need to do to make money. Our actual is a true measurement of what left the shelves for the sales that came in. Our ideal is if there was no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant does not exist. Let's look at each one of these so we understand them in great detail. So we're going to start off with our budgeted number. Where does this budgeted number come from? Well, my back pocket, my rear end. Hey man, it's a number that I put together, understanding prime costs, which I'm going to touch on in just a second, where I need to be to make money in my restaurant based on my core values, based on where I'm located, my style of service, my price point, my quality of product. Do you understand? Based on your restaurant, you've got to create your budget. And for many of us, as we come out of this COVID-19 stuff, which we're not out of, right until there's a vaccine, we're in it. There was post, right, before COVID, BC, if you will. My good friend Cameron Carrington, marketing guy, calls it BC. But now we're in it. We're in COVID. And the truth of the matter is we've got to redo our budgets, create a new plan from our new sales volumes to how we break even, how do we make money, what changes we make in our business. Yeah, I get it. It's different. That's why budgets are critical. What do you need to do in your business to make your money, to make your restaurant work, to overcome your debt service, to make sure your labor works, to make sure your cost of goods sold works, and so on. So we create this budget based on the past, what we're going to do in the future. And if you look in this example, we create our plan for success. Our plan is we're running a 38% food cost right now. Excuse me, in this example restaurant, 38%. Well, shit, can't do that anymore. So we say, hey, we're going to implement the key item tracker, the waste tracker, and the restaurant checkbook guardian. 3 systems I'm going to talk about and review today that I will guarantee you a 2 to 3 point drop in your food costs. No recipe cards, no inventory, no nothing. Just because we're paying attention, we're reducing theft, we're stopping dumbass mistakes. We are budgeting our purchases. And we look at this and we say, okay, we're going to train our managers in month 1. In month 2, we're dropping the food cost 3 points just because we're paying attention. But we also decide we've got to make a major change. And I cannot tell you how many calls with my Mastery Plus coaching members in the last 2 months that we are talking about the huge menu changes that have to happen in their business in order to survive this COVID, this new change, our new reality, that you can't just stay static. Hard decisions had to be made, but they had recipe cards. We had menu mix. I'll show you how we can use those. And we decided that they've got to get their food costs down. In the example I have here, the choice is 24% based on where their numbers are, what they have to do, not they want to do, have to do to survive. So we're going to start those recipe costing cards in month 1. It's going to take 30. Well, let's say it's going to take 40, 60, 100 man hours. Then we've got to do a menu profitability monitor analysis. We can do menu engineering and boom, we're going to have a new menu on the table in month 4. See, that's what budgets do. We don't just click our fingers and say, lower food cost, chef. What is your plan for success? How are you going to achieve that? What systems are you going to put in place to achieve that number? And then with budgets, we take our actuals and our budget and put them side by side to see where we hit or missed so we can adjust. Because a budget is a living, breathing creature, man. We don't make it and look at it a year later. We look at it every single month. And then we change our plan because I got news for you. You're never going to hit your budget. Never. It's a plan, and plans change. And that's why they're so important. They keep you on course. They proactively manage your business. Now, one of the numbers you got to understand is prime cost, total cost of goods sold plus total labor costs, including taxes, benefits, insurance. Okay? Bottom line is this. In the old days, you were supposed to run a 65% prime cost for a full service restaurant, 60% for quick serve. I'm telling you today that you need to be running 55%. That means if you're $1 million business and you're running 65 right now, I'm telling you there's 10 points on the table or $100,000 in bottom line profitability if you're willing to do the work. But you got to understand prime cost. It's not grab an industry average, not a 34% food cost and a 33% labor cost. Well, that's 67%. That's the national average. You're not average. So understand your business. In your business, you may be family dining and run a 30% cost of goods sold, which means you got to run a lower labor cost at 25. Could be a burger restaurant, and you decided you got these quarter pound patties, and you're ordering along, and you're able to get a premium for them. You're running a 20% cost of goods sold, lots and lots of French fries out the wazoo, right? Well, it means you can run a higher labor cost. Be quick serve, 35%. That's 55. You could be a steakhouse and actually run a 40% cost of goods sold on purpose. On purpose. But because your ring of the register is high, your food costs may be high, but your labor cost drops like a rock because it takes the same $15 an hour cook to flip a burger and make you a couple bucks that it does to flip the steak to make you 20 bucks after the cost of the product. And so understand, as we put together a budget and we start figuring out where your food cost should be, I bring this up and I don't spend a lot of time on prime costs right now, is because you can't just grab a national average and you can't just pick it out of the air. You need to see the things together. They're what we call controllable expenses in the control of management, how they hire, fire, train, utilize people, purchase product, utilize that product. So it's critical. So when we put together a budget, we look at ourselves and our core values, our concept. What's important to us, from quality to price point and so on. And then we make the changes. We put our plan in place in order for you to make the money you deserve. That's what our budgeted food cost is. It's one that you go, this is what I need to do to make money. Then we have our actual food costs, and this is just math. And it requires counting stuff. And it requires inventory. And I get it. Some of you are like, inventories? Oh, David, it's so hard. It takes 4 hours for me to do inventory in my restaurant. Yeah, because you grab a pen and paper and you go, milk. Like you wonder why it takes so long. You need to set up shelf-to-sheet inventory in the order it appears on the shelf, the way you want it counted. 30-pound case here, 5-pound bag here, by the ounce here, 5-ounce portion bag here, in what position. So when I take inventory, it is in the same order as on my paper. And it is the same price, the same unit of measure I see on the shelf, that I don't have to do math. Now, this is really important. We've got to get ourselves to a point where we are taking inventory. Now, here's the deal. We have our beginning inventory. When was that? From our last period. I don't want to hear month. I don't want to hear period as far as a 4-week period. I want weekly inventories. Now, for years and years and years, I promoted monthly because we had spreadsheets. Well, now there's software. There's the ability to do shelf sheet inventory. I work with restaurants that literally do $3, $4, $5 million in sales that take inventory in under an hour every Sunday because they've set up shelf to sheet inventory using a software system. And I'm going to tell you, for the most part, you need software when it comes to food costs. You really do. And I will show you why in a moment. I'm not going to sell you any software. Just to be clear, I'm not even tell you which one to get. You got to have it. So we have our beginning inventory. That was our ending inventory for our last period. Then we have our purchases. So every time your broadline distributor, anybody drops a produce vendor and so on, drops off product at your back door, whether you pay for it or not, it's an expense today. We are not on a cash accounting system. We're on an accrual accounting system, earn OUs, which means whether you pay for it or not, it's an expense today. So I started with this much on our shelves. I added this much more. Well, I add those together. All the deliveries plus what I started with tells me what I could sell. Then I take an ending inventory at the end of the period. In this case, I want you to do it once a week. Call a Monday through Sunday work week, Sunday night at close, Monday morning before you open, before we start moving any product around. Don't care which one it is, make sure it's done. Take my ending inventory, subtract it from what I could have sold, beginning plus all those purchases throughout the week. I subtract my ending inventory, and it tells me what left the shelves. So my use. Well, what's the number one way you hope to use your product? Sell it, right? We're in the business to sell our product. But wait a second. There's waste and spoilage, right? Have you thrown away half a case of tomatoes because they went bad? Did you have Lurch on the line who doesn't want to use the measuring cup and has an 8-ounce hand full of French fries and your recipe costing cards for 5 ounce? Do you have servers that rush in the middle of the shift because they ran out of portion cups for dressing and your recipes call for a 2-ounce portion cup, but they grab the 4-ounce portion cups and they're sending 2 extra ounces of dressing out to every salad that goes out there, losing you money? May not sound like a lot, but are we an industry of dollars or pennies? Pennies, they matter, right? So when we start losing product, that is product we didn't get money for. Theft. I know none of you have thieves, right? David, you don't understand. I've got family working for me. I know. But here's the deal. I'm going to put systems in place. I'm going to share with them today how we keep honest people honest. Because the truth of the matter is there is some shrink in our business. But what we want to do is keep honest people honest. We're going to do that. So if they steal it, that's part of your cost of goods sold. It's the product that left the shelves. And last but not least, you as owners have to understand that any comps, any product you take from the restaurant that you didn't put on a comp sheet, didn't put on a waste sheet, right? If it wasn't rung up in the register, then guess what, man? You're driving your food cost up. Now, here's the deal. As a manager, I don't care what you do. It's your business, but you better tell me what the rules are. So for instance, if we ring up a burger in the POS system and it's $10 and I comp $5, as a chef, my cost of goods sold is run off my gross sales before the discount. Not $5, but $10, even though you decided not to collect the $5. Well, so imagine if you take burger after burger, cases of burgers, some Jack Daniels, a keg, buns, cheese, all this stuff. And then you yell at me where my food cost is high, but you took it out the door. You didn't ring it up and you certainly didn't put it on a waste sheet. Then I'm about to lose my job because you took it. Now here's the deal. Take it. But I would suggest you put it on a waste sheet. So I, as a chef, can go, hey, owner, no, wait, you took $850 in product. My food cost is actually right. That's all we want to know. Because if we're running all of our comps through the POS system, we ring it up and comp it, even if all the money's taken away, the kitchen manager gets the revenue for their food costs. And that's important. So I take my product used divided by my gross sales for that period, and I get my food cost percentage. So if I run a 30% food cost for every dollar it comes in, I use 30 cents in product. That's all it means. Little tomato, little cheese, little bun, little chicken, until I have $14 builds a full sandwich with French fries and lettuce, tomato, pickle, and so on. That's all that means. Now here's the deal. The only way you can do this is to take inventories, because then that which we measure improves. Remember, the budget is a target. The actual is what you're actually producing. What is your report card on how well you're doing and whether you have a chance to make money? So the image you see on my screen is we're doing food cost, bottled beer, draft beer, wine, liquor, merchandise, all separate. We'll have our overall cost of goods sold for our budget, but each category has its own targets. The only way. And as we look at here, there's other things you see. We've got inventory turns, change in inventory, budget variance, and so on. So it tells us an awful lot about our business, but you have to take inventories. You have to set that up. It's not a luxury. It's a requirement. Now, to do this, to say, hey, what actually left my shelves? That's your cost of goods sold, the cost of the product that was used, whether it was stolen, wasted, spoiled, hopefully sold, does not matter. You've got to make sure you're doing weekly inventories, monthly at minimum, but weekly. Why? Because if I make a mistake, if I've got a problem in my food cost, and I know it this week, it's week 1 of the period, the month, I've got 3 weeks to fix it. I can run specials, I can find theft, waste, I can correct problems. If I wait till the end of the month and I get my numbers 15 days in the next period, and I go, chef, your food cost is high. First thing out of chef's mouth is, those aren't my numbers. I came from the Magic Ferry, your CPA. Those are wrong. Well, even if chef buys in, crap, you're right. Well, chef has made the same dumbass mistake for 45 days in a row, and now you want him or her to fix it. When I do weekly and I see I have an error, I got a problem, something to fix. I got 3 weeks to fix, 2 weeks to fix it, 1 week to fix it. I can proactively change my bottom line. I want weekly inventories. Don't cry to me that it's hard. Running a restaurant's hard, and it just got harder. So let's make sure this is something we're going to do. And oh, by the way, with the right systems in place, inventory takes under an hour. Cry me a river. Yes, it takes 20 to 30 man hours to set up shelf to sheet. Yes, it takes a Herculean effort to say, instead of move the milk back to where the label was, you go, hey, who moved the milk? Who used milk last? I did, chef. Wait, come here, move the milk. And when they rolled their eyes like an exasperated teenager, because you actually had them walk in, you didn't move the milk, you had them move it, they've just volunteered to take inventory. They're going to realize how inconvenient and how much extra time it takes when you have to search, hunt, peck, because you bought milk, you have milk, and the label on the shelf says milk right there, and you can't find it until you look. That's important. So we got to track our food sales. We got to, by gross dollar, we got to track our purchases. You do that, then you've got your cost of goods sold, your food cost. Now, when it comes to ideal food cost, you need recipe costing cards. I'm not going into great detail. And in fact, the image that I'm providing you is what software would look like. If you were doing them manually, there's actually 4 more columns of what I call product setup. In software, it's already set up. You know what the pack size is. You know what the price is. You convert it to pounds or ounces or eaches and what have you. But here, I've got an item recipe. I know exactly what this recipe is going to cost me. Now, I generally know what the protein costs. Like if I hear another chef or kitchen manager tell an owner, well, I don't need recipe cards, I generally know what my protein costs. Well, then you generally ain't making money. You got to be kidding me. You want to go do it, then generally go risk your family's livelihood, your house. Go open your own damn restaurant, because right here, we're going to run with systems. Because, oh, by the way, not only is it going to ensure that we make money and I can pay your salary and all the cooks that you need in this restaurant, that they have jobs. But you know what? I'm with recipe cards. I build sales because your guests love your food even better because they can count on it being the same portion size, the same flavor profile, the same every single time, because people follow a recipe costing card. It's not just you greedy owner bastards. I can't believe you're trying to make money on the backs of all these people. No. Yes, it's about profitability, but it's about giving the guests the same damn experience. There are some chain restaurants out there that suck. They suck and they have lines of people. Why? Because they suck the same way every day. Right? And we laugh about it internally. We think, yeah, but sometimes I go to your restaurant and the portion's this big and sometimes it's this big. Because we don't follow recipe costing cards, let alone even knowing what they cost. And this is critical if you want to make money. Now, when you give me recipe costing cards, we can run a menu mix. This is an image of something I call the menu profitability monitor, giving you the ability to know your ideal food cost. What is ideal or theoretical food cost? It's if there was no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, which does not exist. If your business ran perfectly, which does not exist, what your food cost should be based on what your customers actually order. So it's a nasty mathematical term called a weighted average. Weighted average. Oh, that sounds awful. Well, what it really means is it allows us to sell anchor appetizers out of a box at a 38% food cost from freezer to fryer. We don't sell a lot of them, have decent cash contribution, but they actually hurt my food cost overall. But I sell the living hell out of my hand-cut, fresh-cut French fries that are a 5% cost of goods sold, and we sell them like there's no tomorrow because they're to die for, driving my food costs down. The best way I can describe this is if you have a two menu item, that's all you, 2 items on your menu. That's all you have. One item has a 99% food cost. Wow. One is a 1% food cost. Yeah. And in that calendar month, you sell 100 items. You sell 99 of them at 99% food cost and only one at 1%. What's your food cost? 99%. Same restaurant next month, you sell 99 items at 1% food cost and one at 99%. What's your food cost? 1%. See, selling one at either way is not going to move the needle. So the only way to know what your food cost should be is based off accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards and your product mix, your P-mix report, velocity report, item-by-item sales mix report. Don't give a rat's ass what your POS system calls it. Every item you sold during that period. So if you look at this example and that squiggly line looks like Charlie Brown's shirt at the bottom, is just my way of saying that this is actually a really long spreadsheet and there's a whole bunch of other categories. I just cut it in half, if you will, or in two. And that says there's stuff I didn't scroll. So here's the deal. What do I've got? The categories. I've got the menu item name. I have the cost came from my recipe costing card, my accurate, up-to-date recipe costing card. I have my menu price, what I sell it for. No discounts, not my average price, what I actually sell it for in the menu. Quantity sold, that came from my POS system. And I like to sort it from what I sell the most of to the least. Now, if I look at the contribution margin, that next column, that's just the menu cost subtracted from the menu price. I make $19 on this baby back ribs at $24. Now, the cost of goods sold, use divided by sales, is that next column. And then total cost, total sales, total contribution margin is the number sold times cost, quantity, and contribution margin. We've got other things like percentage to group. Out of the 1,099 baby back ribs, out of 4,901 items sold in entrees, it represents X to the group and so on, right? So we go through, we have all these numbers, but it doesn't matter. What I really care about for this lesson is we get all the way to the bottom. And based on every category, some having a 21% food cost, 28% by category with items that could be 34%, 40% cost of goods sold. But based on what my customers actually purchase all together, all the way at the bottom, this restaurant, ideal food cost should be 23.63%. Based on no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant does not exist. That means the kitchen manager or chef trains perfectly. There is no waste. There is no theft. There is no spoilage, right? That's not true. We've got human beings. Things happen. But that's my ideal number. Now, here's the deal. Be very, very clear. I hope I'm already painting the picture. You cannot expect a 23.63% ideal food cost from your chef in this example. That is not chef's target. I started this off with those of you inviting you to this webinar. I said a typical restaurant runs 7 to 9 points higher than their ideal food cost. A typical restaurant would run a 30 to 32% food cost in this menu at 23.63. To be a rock star chef, rock star kitchen manager, you'll be 1.5 to 2 points over ideal. So a rock star, listen to me, a rock star chef should run an actual food cost of 25.63%. But a typical restaurant runs as many as 7 to 9 points. So what is one of my major reasons? You give me recipe cost cards, you give me this menu profitability monitor, and we can spend 2, 3, 4 hours analyzing your menu, and you can do it yourself. I teach you the same skills. The truth is, we can make huge change to our business. Huge change to our business using recipe costing cards. Now, I just want to see something real quick. Okay. Now, our ideal food costs, and I will talk about menu engineering in a moment, our ideal food cost is based on what our customers actually purchase using up-to-date recipe costing cards and our product mix. So we've got a decent understanding of where all this comes from, right? Well, are you making money? Well, I start with my target, right? That's the number I need to do to make money. In this case, in this restaurant example, my budget, in order for me to hit my 55% prime cost, or it's on my path to my 55% prime cost, what systems am I putting in place to achieve that? I need to run a 25% food cost this month. If you're on 13-period counting cycle, this period. But then I have my actual, those are my real results. Beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use divided by sales, gives me food cost. I'm running a 26.42. Now, if we stopped here, now we would sit there and we'd tell two stories. We stop here. Most restaurants don't have a budget. So they're using 34% and they're patting chef on the back saying, you're doing an awesome job. I can't believe you. We don't know what our ideal food cost is. We're using just one number. Worst case scenario, they're hitting 34%, right? And it doesn't matter. It's a whole nother story I will go over in a moment. But look at this. My budget is 25. My actual is 26.4. If I stop and just use these numbers, only these two, which many of us have been taught, I'm chef. Why is your food cost high? What the hell's your problem? Da da da. Wrong number. This just says, am I in a position to make money? Right? That's all this says. It doesn't mean chef did a bad job running the kitchen. It does say, I'm not making the money I deserve. Now, when you see your food costs off, we run a weekly prime cost budget variance and we look at our cost of goods sold. In this case, we look at food costs as $315 over. Before I bless that, what do? I do an eyeball evaluation. I look to see if any of my numbers are off. Remember the cost of goods sold slide? Does my sales look wrong? Do my purchases look wrong? Do my inventories look wrong? Well, in doing so, I'm going to look at my product usage. When I go down that inventory and I look at $30,000 in shredded cheese, I go, hey, somebody counted ounces as a case price. Let's fix that. Let's make sure my numbers are accurate. Hey, look at this and go, my food cost is really low. What's up with this? Am I missing invoices? And go audit your invoices and make sure all your purchases have been divided up. That we're only showing our food purchases. We don't have paper supply, janitorial, small wares, equipment, all in that invoice just because the broadline distributor gives it to you on the same invoice. We double check, right? So go look at those numbers and ultimately say, oh, wait a second. Does it look low? Did I order from a new vendor? Or do I always buy my salmon from this vendor, but they 86'd me and I bought salmon from another vendor and those invoices aren't even connecting, right? So we've got to make sure we double check. Now there is a list of systems to make this truly happen, to take control of your food cost. We're going to cover a bunch of them here in a moment. We talk about finding the gap between your ideal and your actual. But look at this. In order to do these things, you've got to have a budget. You've got to have your forecasted sales. You've got to track your sales by category on a daily basis, your DSR tracker, right? You need a paid out log, an invoice log, breaking things up by category so that only the food purchases show up. We've got to have batch recipe cards to make sure my soups, side dishes, sauces, any component for a dish is on the shelf. I can count it in inventory so I don't show a false high food cost because I had this tenderloin that was butchered into fillets and I've got trays of them. And because I don't count them because they're in transit, an old bad habit we have in our industry, my food cost looks really high, even though there's hundreds of dollars sitting in my cooler, right? We've got to take accurate inventories, shelf the sheet inventories, right? We've got to have waste sheets, key item reports. I'm going to talk about these. And then more advanced systems, and they're not really advanced. They're just time consuming. I really need to change that label to time consuming. I need recipe costing cards. I need to know what every item cost me. See, here's the deal. I didn't say when we talked about recipe costing cards, if you don't know what every item costs you, you're throwing your profitability to what I call dumbass luck. You're shitting me. Name any other or any other industry that literally puts up a product in a window and goes $13.95, right? If I go buy tires at a tire retail store, yeah, they got a computer, but I see stacks of tire with a price on them. Do you think the manager wakes up, gets ready for work, comes to the office, pours himself a cup of coffee, exits the office, comes into the showroom, sees stacks of tires, stares at the stack of tires and goes, $350? Or do you think that manager knew exactly what those tires cost him or her and what he or she needs to sell that tire to make money? I would say they know. Yet in our industry, chef puts out today's special. What's today's special? What did we charge yesterday? $13.95. $13.95. You're shitting me. Like if you've not reacted to adjusting your prices like if I'm a barbecue restaurant right now, at the time we're doing this with COVID and the prices and going up because all the four only protein companies have been hit with COVID so hard, there's a shortage and our prices are going up. You've seen brisket go up, I think 300% in the last 3 weeks. If you don't adjust to that, if you don't have accurate up-to-date recipe cost cards, make the change, you're losing money hand over fist. Forget about lower sales. Now imagine working that much harder. We've got to have these things in place. Then we do that menu analysis, the menu profitability monitor, and we can make changes. We can change the bottom line. I'm going to talk about moving your needle 3 to 7 points the first time through with menu engineering techniques. And then the real payoff, ideal versus actual product usage. This is where software is critical. You can do it with a spreadsheet. It's arduous. You might be able to get 5, 10 products. You're going to spend hours doing it where software can tell you that number. Hey, it looks like based on your inventory and purchases, you used 5 cases of French fries this week. But based on our recipe costing cards and our product mix, it says we should have only used 3. You used 2 cases of fries too many. Instead of saying, chef, why is your food cost high? You can say, highlight that report and say, fix this, and fix this. I know exactly what's wrong in my kitchen. That's critical. This is what systems do for you in your business. Now, if I sit there and say, do I have a chance to make money? Well, what do we start with? We start with our ideal food cost. Our ideal food cost is based off no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, which does not exist. And an incredible rock star chef, kitchen manager, what are they running? 1.5 to 2 points above ideal. My actual. But here's the deal. Look at this. If I'm a rock star and my ideal is 24.5 in this example, that means if I ran a 26.5%, I'm a rock star. By the way, if I actually run a 24.5% food cost, actual, that means your recipe costing cards are either wrong by accident or they've been padded on purpose. You cannot hit your ideal food cost ever. We are not freaking machines, right? So hear me, owners, if you actually hit that ideal number, your cards are wrong, either by accident or on purpose. We need to audit those things. But now look at my budget. My budget says for me to make money, remember we started this, I need to run a 25% food cost. Wait a second. If 2 points higher is a rock star, this will produce a 26.5. I need 25. This says manager, chef, kitchen manager, you need to re-engineer the menu. You need to give me a menu that can produce a 23% ideal food cost to hit 25 actual to hit my budgeted target. I have no chance. And see, these different numbers play a different role. And in this example, this is a real restaurant, Glen Park Tavern. Ellie and her father own this restaurant, and it was doing really well, but the menu was a real hindrance. Number one, it was merchandising the wrong thing. The Stagecoach, it was a 100-year-old restaurant, and they had white out on prices and so on. And we worked with menu engineering techniques and accurate up-to-date recipe cost cards with their product mix, and we came out with a new menu, which you see to the right, which meant $140,000 change to their bottom line. And that's when it was necessary because in New York, $15 minimum wage was coming. Now we've got minimum wage and costs going up and sales going down, and we have to-go charges. As far as these third-party apps, and we've got all this to-go product we need. Like, you have to change. You cannot do the same thing that you always done. Now, we've got a gap, right? Most restaurants run 7 to 9%. And what is that? That is my ideal food cost. No waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, which does not exist. To our actual beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending is a use divided by sales. What actually leaves the shelves is my use. So in this case, I want you to look at this. We already said we're over budget. We're not making the money we deserve. We already got a problem. But look at this. My ideal food cost is 24.5. My actual is 26.4. This is a rock star chef, kitchen manager, right? They're doing a great job ordering, controlling costs, preventing theft, reducing waste, ordering on budget, training people, monitoring prep, doing all those things. They're a great manager, right? And so each one of these tell a different story, that when we put them all three together, if I look at budgeted to actual, chef, you're doing a horrible job. Wait a second. I look at ideal to actual, chef, you're doing a phenomenal job. But look, I can't make money. You need to re-engineer a menu and put me in a position to make money. Do you understand? Like, this is where I said you start off today's webinar, and you may be ignorant to knowing that you need these three numbers. But now that you know, how can you not work towards knowing the three numbers and how important it is to know those, to monitor those, to really have a chance to make money in your business? Now let's narrow the gap, because I said based on ideal food cost to actual food cost, a typical restaurant runs 7 to 9 points above ideal. Like, that's scary as hell. Well, I'm going to show you right now very quickly with 2 clipboard systems and a budgeting system that I teach. That'll guarantee you a 2 to 3 point drop in your food cost. Literally 30, 60, 90 days on the long side because you didn't hold your managers accountable. You didn't train them well enough. You didn't say it was important. If I hold them accountable and I train them, literally within 60 days, should get 2 to 3 points back to your bottom line. Well, it starts with preventing theft. Remember, use is beginning inventory plus purchase minus ending gives me use. What use is sales, theft, spoilage, what you take out. Well, I can control you. So how about preventing theft? Well, Key at Iron Report is counting 5 items, 5 to 15 items. That's it. Every shift. See, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my starting count, what I prep or purchase, gives me what I could have. Then I've got what I actually sold from my POS system. I do the math and I find where my variances are. And see, if I've got an employee who's saying, oh my gosh, they're counting the stuff, they're not going to steal it. Because if they're dumb enough to steal it, I'm doing this every shift. I know it was you. You've been standing in the broiler section for the last freaking 6 hours. You're the one. So all we're trying to do is keep honest people honest. And then if I've got a shortage, then I better see it on a waste sheet, which is to help me prevent doing dumbass mistakes, right? Hey, why is it every Thursday we throw away a half a case of tomatoes because we overorder on Monday, but nobody pays attention to it? We just throw away a half a case of tomatoes. Wouldn't it be nice to know that the server that they hired in front of house that has got a wonderful personality, but she keeps running back to the kitchen going, don't make 15 minutes after she ordered it. And it's already sitting in the window going to be wasted. Don't you want to tell the front of house, fix it, teach her, reposition her, fire her? Wouldn't it be nice? Hey, chef, why is your food cost high? I don't know. I've heard Jose's burning steaks, but I don't work a lot of shifts with Jose. Wouldn't it be nice to see it? That today, Jose's been burning steaks. I can identify Jose needs retraining, repositioning, possibly firing. That we don't make the same dumbass mistake day after day after day. Now, a lot of employees don't want to use this. They think and I got you, write it down, you'll lose your job. But no, it's a proactive management tool. See, the Key Item Report reduces theft, which reduces use. My waste sheet reduces dumbass mistakes when? 15 days the next period? No, today. When do you have an opportunity to make the change? Today. Stop doing the same dumbass thing day after day after day. Stop it today. This is powerful, which reduces my use. And then I teach this thing called the purchase allotment system. I call the restaurant checkbook guardian. That in combination with those 2 clipboard systems, I guarantee you a 2 to 3 point drop in your food costs with no recipe cards, no shelf sheet inventory. Based on having forecasted sales, a budget target, my actual invoice log and paid out log, my DSR tracker, I can tell you exactly how much money you can spend on your next order to stay within budget. And well, by the way, the system way it works is if today's an order day, Monday's an order day, Tuesday is a delivery day, my next order day is Thursday to a Friday delivery day. We go from order day to the second delivery day. That way I still have at least 2-3 days worth of food, or I should say 3-4 days worth of food on our shelves at that delivery. That I'm not, oh my gosh, I've got this so down on controls that if that busload of athletes show up, I don't have any food for them. No, we're going to be able to operate. We're just not going to have days upon days upon days on weeks of food on our shelves, which is at risk to be stolen, wasted, spoiled, right? No Key Item Report in the world is going to hide the fact that you have so much product and you can't keep track of it. So here's the deal. When we look at this image, there's this number. It says, here's what you can order. And you say, hey, this allows you as an owner, as a general manager, to give up ordering without giving up your checkbook. You keep it close to vest because what pays your bills? Cash or profits? Cash does, right? And so here's the deal. Hey, chef, you have $4,658 you can spend on the next order. To stay within what? To stay within budget. That's critical. So now as we talk about this, to stay within budget, what am I going to do? Hey, broadline distributor, could you remove 3 carrots, 2 ounces of milk, and about 4 ounces of the sugar on this next order? Because I've only got $4,658.09, and that's how I can get there. Oh, hell no. And we want to be able to buy that specialty box of a case of prosciutto because you got a feature you're going to run. So I'm going to give my personal feeling is I'm going to give my kitchen manager or chef $500 over budget. And here's kind of the process. You're going to say, if you're going to spend over $500, 1 penny over $500, what this budget says, You've got to find me and ask me for permission. There's only one person allowed to go over budget in my restaurant. That's me, the owner, or a GM with budget responsibility. So chef comes and says, hey, David, I need to spend $5,658, $1,000 over budget. What is the first question you're going to ask chef? Why? Now, if you have the right systems in place, the things I'm going to be talking about as I finish up this webinar, again, this is a 90-minute webinar with question and answer, so stay with me. There's some really good stuff coming, but here's the deal. Your manager is following the systems I teach, what need to be in place, just like the big chains. This is what I want to hear from my chef. Well, David, I'm glad you asked that question. The reason why I need $1,000 more than we ordered or we have on budget is this. We lost a reach-in cooler this week. We lost about $350 in product. I've since called a refrigeration repair company. I got it fixed and I put us on a quarterly maintenance agreement. Shouldn't happen again, but just in case, I've implemented a time temp checklist. We're checking the temperatures every 2 hours. That if I see the temperature start to drop into the danger zone, I can move the product. We won't lose it again. Now, I did look at the key item report. Doesn't look like we have theft, but I noticed on the waste sheet, Jamie has been burning pizzas. So I've repositioned so they can go through training again before we hit the oven independently. Now, unfortunately, it's about $350 I can't account for. I'm guessing it's portion controls. So I looked at our usage report and I picked our top 3 products and implemented these 3 portion controls on the line. May I place the order? Well, I'm telling you right now, you're putting your hands on your knees. You're having a smoke. You're like, oh, I call that restaurant sex. Like you would, are you kidding me? Manager, what did you just say to me? But that's what I want. When we have the right systems in place, you change your business, not from the old way of doing things, the new way. Your managers know their numbers. And what did that manager do? Found the problem today, fixed the problem today, told you what they did, and you can look them in the eye and go, that is awesome. No. See, what the manager doesn't know is you just had all your payroll taxes swept from your account. You paid cash for the new bank of fryers. You're cash poor. You may be profitable, but you ain't got greenbacks in your back pocket to pay for all that. And say you need to order this much and place another order the next day. I need sales coming in the door. Right? See, I'm controlling my problems. At least twice a week, I'm finding a problem, fixing it today. The manager, the chef knows exactly what the problem is and fixes it. Stop making the same dumbass mistakes 45 days in a row when we pay attention looking backwards. If you get your P&L 15 days in the next period, many of you 60, 90 days later or worse, and you wonder why you're not making money. So now 2 clipboard systems in this spreadsheet, what I call Restaurant Checkbook Guardian, drop your food cost 2 to 3 points. Now we start there and we say, okay, what else can we do? I can change my menu mix. Remember the ideal food cost based on what my customers actually purchase? You can say my food cost is running high. Chef, I want $35 specials out there. We're an $18 an average food place. I want $35 specials. I want them to have really low food cost, high perceived value. They got to be dynamite. And so that I can influence through giving my servers suggest an order, an upsell at the table. I can start putting these in. Oh, by the way, I'm also going to lower my labor cost, another benefit. But I can get my food costs back in line, change my menu mix with these people, with menu boards, with features inserts, with servers who have been trained, with cashiers who have been trained to sell. Well, what else can I do? Look at your plates. Like if I'm a casual concept, look, if I'm fine dining, let's go fine dining. I could have 3 2-ounce medallions of tenderloin, and I could have 3 asparagus and some drizzle. Oh, it's wonderful. And spend $50. Right? Look at it. And all this white space, this incredible, huge charger, right? Boom. But in a casual concept, like have you seen a line cook when you have French fries? Oh, there's white space. Let's fill them, put more French fries. No, that's not how it works. So here's the deal. You either got to fix your kitchen, or if you don't have time, I'm going to tell you right now, buy smaller plates. Reduce how much they can put on the plate. You might even get a wow pop to your guest that they have this wow. Right? A wow, look, it fills this plate, even though really what happened is I reduced the plate size. What else can I do when it comes to this? I'm going to adjust my portions. Double check your what? Double check your garbage can. Do you have food in your garbage can? I know you have food in your garbage can, but you got to ask yourself why. It's one of 2 major reasons. 1, your food sucks, or you got too much on a plate. And some of us don't know our food sucks because why? We don't even order our own menu. We walk back and go, hey, could you make me something special? What the hell does that? And oh, by the way, what's the recipe costing card on that? So if you're not eating your own damn food, that's a red flag right there. But if I've got a lot of food in my waste pail, right? I look at it and go, could I cut back some of the portions on the French fries? Maybe I see a lot in there. And they would have the same perceived value at the price I have right now, reducing the cost of that menu item without raising the price, right? We can do things like that. What else can we do? We got to pay attention to things like portion controls. I want portion controls everywhere. Yes, I'm going to pay a $15, $20, $25 an hour cook to sit there and put 5 ounces of French fries in a bag, weigh them, put them aside. Why? Because I want to make sure the guest has the same experience every single time. I control my costs. So calibrate your scales. Like, I get it. You know, most everybody right now is going, I'm not buying these jackasses another digital scale. You go to the stainless steel prep table, you know, the one with the drawer that goes, you can't get in there. And there's 2 dead digital scales. I get it, man. Just get the springy scales, grab a stick of butter, put it on there. It's a pound, calibrate it, right? We've got to have those things. We've got to pre-portion bags. We've got to have proper ladle sizes that if I have demi-glaze and the recipe calls for a 1 ounce ladle and I put in a 2 ounce ladle, I screw up the dish. It's too salty. It's horrible. And I killed the cost. So we need line checklists to make sure these portion controls are in line. If I've got a salad, a large and a small salad, they could be 2 different coffee cup sizes. I don't care. There's a standard vessel that says this is how much goes into each one. Guest gets the same product every single time. Increased sales, satisfied people, better Yelp reviews, and you make the money you deserve. Because here's the deal. Remember that ideal food cost? What, based on the customers actually order, our theoretical or ideal food cost? What if your food cost ideal was 30% and you overportion by only 10%, just 10%, 10%, that's all. Well, the naked eye can't see 10%. You can't see 10% more French fries, rice, beans, shredded beef. I don't care what it is. When you see it, it's like 25% more. Whoa. Fix this order. Well, if all these dishes go out that are only 10% higher in product, just a little extra product, you take a 30% food cost and make it 33, just like that. 3 points on every $1 million in food sales you do is a lot of freaking money. This is why so many restaurants run 7 to 9 points over ideal. You've got to make sure you have managers in place that check these things, then ensure they're being used. Because a lot of this stuff is so easy to do. Like none of you are going, oh my gosh, David, you have changed my world. Then why isn't it being done every single day? How many times have I walked into a restaurant, seen a key item report and waste sheet up on clipboards from weeks ago? Because the moment you don't inspect what you expect by paying attention to it, it goes away. The moment you don't check the line for the right ladles, the right portion controls, the right vessels, is the shift they no longer use them and you start losing money that moment. It requires you to lead, to say this is what's going to happen. Change your company culture that when one restaurant employee looks at another and goes, hey dude, that's not how we do that here. You have hit a home run. Until then, we need to babysit. We need to train. We need to coddle. We need to coach. We need to hold people accountable to these systems. How about reducing our waste at our back door? Now, I would tell you, here's a receiving checklist. I'd update this and add temperatures, price checks, quantity checks, some other things in here. But I'm going to train somebody to receive orders. A trained person, and not during lunch rush, not during breakfast rush, not during dinner rush. Find your window. And by doing so, you're going to reduce your purchases by as much as $300 to $500 a month, if not a week, some people. See, some of your vendors, I'm not saying they do it on purpose. Some do, but I'm not saying they do it on purpose. Sometimes the little guys on purpose, the big guys, it's just machinery and mistakes. But here's the deal. When your catch weight meats and cheese come in, you better open the frickin' box and put them on a scale. Because sometimes somebody put a finger on the scale by accident or on purpose, and you're paying for air. And by paying more money for air, you're making your food costs go up. When you get that shitty piece of salmon, because your fishmonger knows you don't pay attention, and it turns 2 days into being in your cooler, you throw it away. Well, they got cost goods sold too. You were dumb enough to buy it and you didn't use it fast enough. Now it's gone and your food cost goes up. We've got to be paying attention to our back door. Trust and verify. By the way, Those of you who actually do this at the back door, you know you never get screwed because your drivers have reported back. They check everything, make sure this order is accurate. That's what we've got to do, is trust and verify. I'm not telling you everybody's a crook. Now, here's where software comes in. Well, I need the software to create that product mix and the ideal food cost. But when I put that together, I need software to do my inventory and actual food cost. When I put that together, both those things, I get ideal versus actual product usage. In this case, in 1 week, my prime rib, I buy it by the pound, and I know that based on inventories, begin inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use. I actually used 58 pounds this week of prime rib. Based on recipe costing cards, accurate, up-to-date recipe costing cards, and my product mix from my POS system, based on what my customers actually purchased, in theory, no waste, no theft, no spoilage, perfect restaurant, I should have used 43.75 pounds. I'm 14 pounds over. I used 14 pounds more than I should have. And you start counting up the dollars per pound that this prime rib is, and you say, why am I not making money? But now I can highlight that and say, chef, fix that. There's a reasonable amount that we could say if we're hand cutting and we need to teach somebody how to do so, whether we're not holding it properly and the product is shrinking. I don't know the answer. That's why I have chefs. That's why I have kitchen managers, trained culinary professionals to fix this. But now you and your chef, your kitchen manager, can have an eyeball-to-eyeball discussion and know exactly what's going wrong in your kitchen because you have software and you know your ideal versus actual product usage. But you needed to do all this inventory, sales forecasts, right? Invoice logs, and so on. Hey, look, if you want to start making a change to your bottom line right now, grab all of your purchases from all of your vendors since your last menu change. 6 months ago, 3 months ago, I want at least 6 months data, but if you just change your menu at the beginning of the pandemic, then we're only gonna do this for last month because you reduced your menu, right? What have I been purchasing? Take all of your products from all your vendors, put them together in one spreadsheet, sort it from what you spend the most money on to the least. It's called the descending dollar report. And what I'm gonna tell you right now is you may not know this, but did you know your top 1 through 10 or 12 items represent 50% of all your buying power? 10 items are 50 cents on every dollar you spend on that order. That if I could go to my broadline distributor and say, hey man, do you have a like quality product or better quality product at a cheaper price? If I promise to buy all this from you, can you give me a better price? If I can move the needle 5 cents a pound on cheese, 10 cents a pound on my burgers, whatever it may be, I can move the needle and save 2 to 3% on my food cost just by using my descending dollar report. Now, if you want to go one step further, you can't do these other things in conjunction with this per se, because otherwise I'd have your food cost down to almost nothing. But I may sit there and say, you know what, I'm gonna circumvent that. And I'm gonna go to broadline distributors and put a request for proposal out to everybody and say, here's all my tonnage of everything I buy. Who wants to do a prime vendor agreement with me? I'll promise to buy 90% of my purchases from you, which gives me 10% to buy. I like produce from somebody else. I like to go to Costco and get my styrofoam, whatever it may be. I'll promise to buy 90% of my products from you. Will you give me better pricing, better delivery charge, better? And this can be a 3 to 7 point drop. Now, this is more powerful because you're looking at it all and you're going to win on a lot of items and you're going to lose on some. But overall, based on your purchasing, you will reduce your food costs, and your broadline distributor wants to work with you because they know they're getting all this tonnage. See, a distributor is really a trucking company that trucks and delivers food. They're really not a food company as much as we'd like to think. So they've got to make so much money per delivery. And through these agreements, paying COD or 7 days, 14 days terms, and so on, by taking 2 deliveries a week instead of 3 or 4, and negotiating this, creating a partnership with my broadline distributor, you can reduce your food costs 3 to 7 points. Now, take it one step further and say, today, a GPO, group purchasing organization, I provide that to my members. And I think every restaurant will be on a GPO in the next 10 years. A group purchasing organization says, hey, all your restaurants, let's go together. And based on this long list of products, if we buy these products, we get better prices or we get rebates. So you may go to a GPO and say, hey, here's the deal. I buy this napkin. You've got that napkin with a rebate. So by buying the same napkin I've always done, I get this rebate. I'm going to reduce my cost of goods sold. Well, in this case, paper product, right? Bottom line is, wait a second. GPOs go one step further and say, we can do this, or you've got this product. We've got this other one. 3-ply napkin to 3-ply napkin. Make sure it is apples to apples. It'll go from 3-ply to 1-ply. Oh, look at how much money I'm saving. And there's these disgusting little snot rags that can't hold up to anything, right? Same quality, same product. Oh, we've got this one. If you switch here, not only do you get a rebate, but you have a cheaper price. They can also go one step further and say, oh, by the way, we can switch you, give you a rebate, cheaper price, and by moving you to this vendor, if you want to get a prime vendor agreement with them, we can move the needle further. And I say 3 to 7 points on this, but I've seen as much as 14-point change. Like, what can you do to bring that 7 to 9 points down to lower my costs without raising prices all the time, because we are fearful? You're going to have to raise prices. But somewhere along the line, we reach a limit based on our restaurant, what we've got. And this is why we need to have all these tools. So here's the deal. If you want to make change in your business, you've got to understand that you need to know all 3 numbers: your ideal, your actual, and what? Your budgeted cost of goods sold, your food cost, because each tell a different story. You've got to go beyond the numbers, the math, to understand how all these things fit together and what you can do to make a change. You've got to make sure that you follow and start to implement all those proven systems I gave you to change your bottom line. No excuses, can't go backwards. And ultimately, by now, you better understand you need software, you need recipe costing cards, because it's critical. I can menu engineer, move my needle 3 to 7 points. I can do all these other things. And next thing you know, it is not unreasonable to think that if you start without recipe cost cards, you've never done menu engineering, you haven't done all these other things, that you can't move the needle maybe 10 points or more. For many of us, hey, I got recipe cards, David. I've been menu engineering. I already do some of these things, but I don't connect them. Maybe you're only going to find a 2, 3, 4, 5-point change, unless we say, based on your budget, you've got to make a dramatic change to your menu, because that's the only way you make it. And that's the power of understanding your ideal, your actual, and your budgeted food cost. So that concludes what I have now. I'm going to see if you guys have any questions. You can either put it in the chat section or the question box. I'll look that over right now. So I'm just looking over here. If anybody's got a question, you want to type it in the chat box or the question box. I will look at both here. That's what I'm staring at over here in this other monitor. Okay. We got a question here. Does your system allow you to use international currencies, Kuwait dinar? Plus, we pay our employees monthly. Contract actually. We also provide accommodations and free duty meal part of their contract as well. So the answer is yes. I don't put any American dollar signs in any of this stuff. I learned that when I was a software provider, because I work with people all over the world. So it is just literally decimals. So it works with everything that you have, right? Whatever your currency is. Now, when it comes to all the other things, yeah, I get it. I've worked with people in all over the world and who are very more socialistic policies, where you've got guaranteed vacation, cannot fire somebody, must contract hire them, must provide housing and so on. Well, that goes into your budget, right? That's why budgets are so important. We create your targets. Now, I will tell you that if we know that your labor cost is extremely high, then we've got to run a lower labor cost, right? Food cost. That is, or cost of goods sold total, that's prime cost. But the truth of the matter is, in many countries, even though we've got all these other things, the labor, the dollars that we owe them on an hourly basis is so low that it's really finds its way into the same 55% prime cost in most cases. I will tell you, though, that when we're salaried people, we've lost the tool in the toolbox to bring our prime cost down. All you can do is cost of goods sold. And there is a point in time where we reach a limit of what we can charge and what we can put on a plate before it's no longer of value to the guest. But the answer is yes. Let's see if anybody else has a question. We got a question here. Raul says, if you have an item that although sells good, your food cost is too high on that specific product and you can't lower the cost, would you remove that from the item? So Raul, here's the real question. Did you put it all together and see what the effect is overall for your food cost? See, one item doesn't change the whole world for me. unless it is such a dramatic seller. Then I've got to decide, hey, do I need to reimagine this dish so I can charge differently? Do I need to reduce the portion size because I can't keep up with it? Do I need to buy a different product? Do everything in my power to keep that on the menu and reduce the cost? Well, those are options. If I look at it and say, oh, this really costs me a lot, but maybe it's got a high food cost, but it's a high cash contributor, so it reduces my labor cost. What I'm really going to do is in my menu start to promote these other items to take the pressure off that item that are lower food cost, higher ring at the register, to change my menu mix. The last thing I'm going to do is take it completely off the menu. But yes, it can happen. But because I use these other tools, I probably can get around the fact that this is a high food cost item and it's fantastic. And by the way, there's a book y'all should read by John DeJulius, the author John DeJulius, called Secret Service. And one of the things that takeaway that he has in the book is, with wow customer service, we make price irrelevant. So that's critical. Let's see if I've got any more questions here. I've got another question here. Would you consider margin contribution versus food cost to move an item? Yes, I just said that, right? What I call cash contribution, margin contribution. So this is why prime cost is so important. I will tell you, I had a coaching call about 2 years ago with one of my members at my old company. And we were doing this menu engineering call. And the whole goal is we had to make a change to their menu. We needed to lower the food costs. But they served fried chicken, this incredible hand-done pan-fried chicken. It was unbelievable. And they were selling different pieces. And we looked at it and said, okay, well, if I make this change, get rid of this, the 2-piece, get rid of this piece, whatever it may be. We made a change that actually increased their food cost. Like I had their ideal food cost, I upped it. But because we were getting more at the register, we brought in more sales. And so in the budget, I all of a sudden, before I changed the sales, I locked all of the labor as a fixed expense. Get it? Because I didn't increase my customer counts. I just got more money for it. So while my food costs went up, all my labor costs stayed the same, flipped it back. And what we discovered is we reduced their prime costs, made more money by running a food cost that was higher. Case in point to this topic is a typical steakhouse. Could run as high as a 38% food cost, but they're selling steaks for $40, $50, right? And it takes the same $15 an hour cook to flip. It doesn't take 2 cooks to flip a steak. So that's why prime cost. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but that's really, really important. My next question here is, my kitchen manager had to jump on the line. Will this webinar be available on demand for her to view? Yes. So my understanding is, and this is new software for me that I'm using, but my understanding is with the link you just used to be on here, this will be made available to you literally minutes after we finish. So use the same link. You'll be able to rewatch that. If not, email me if for some reason I'm absolutely wrong, and I will make sure I get you a replay. I've got another question here. Raul says, if you have an item that I already answered that question. Okay. So didn't I answer that question? Oh, we haven't. How often do you compare ideal to actual cost? Excellent question. How often do I compare my actual cost to my ideal food cost? Minimum monthly. But if I'm using software and I have tied all this together every single week, when I come to the manager meeting and I'm the chef, I will be loaded with my budget target, my actual food cost, my ideal, my waste sheet, my key item report information, all the details, and I'm going to tell you the story. Why I'm off and what I'm doing to fix it or what I did to fix it. The answer is weekly, but that requires software. Otherwise, it's Herculean effort to do your ideal food cost, right? Because we got to transfer numbers. We got to make sure all the recipe cards are up to date. We got to manually do that. It can be done, but on a weekly basis. Cheryl says, if you give employee meals as a part of their salary, do you put that into prime cost or just as another expense? That's the big question. Depends on how you account for your employee meals. If you got family meal and you're just kind of feeding everybody at the same time, very fine dining kind of thing, everybody comes in, sets up the restaurant and so on, Although, by the way, that's blowing labor costs, but a whole nother story. Well, then I'm going to put all that on a waste sheet. So I'm not ringing it up in the register, but I'm account for it. Now, if I'm giving an employee 50% off their meal, a manager comp their whole meal for any full shift they work, well, that is, in my world, I want to ring it up in the register and then comp it. And so that is going to give my chef or kitchen manager the gross sale. The other part that you ask is a whole nother topic that if you want to, you get on my calendar, go to davidscottpeters.com, go on my free consult, give you a half hour of my time. We can talk about much bigger topic of, is that really an employee benefit? The answer is yes. It does belong in their employee benefits. It's a part of labor cost, but 99 out of 100 restaurants don't do it that way. Doesn't mean it's right, but we can answer that in greater detail if you want to jump on my calendar. Let's see here. We've got another question here. Robert says, how do you account for things you give away in ideal cost? Chips, salsa, Mexican restaurant, extra ranch, dressing, bread. Excellent question, man. This goes into recipe costing cards. There's something that I call your consumable factor or spice factor. See, I don't give anything away for free. Because you're right. It's going to, if I have chips and salsa and those bastards eat 3 baskets and ask for all this wonderful salsa, it's like crack, right? They eat it. And you go, I wonder why my food cost is high as you give away all this free product, bread and butter at the table. Well, I'm not going to go up to because I give it away, my food cost goes up, but I'm not going to go to the table and says, oh, it looks like you used about 35 cents in mustard. I'm going to put that on your ticket. Wait till Yelp gets a hold of that son of a bitch, right? Whoosh. But every time they use mustard, I lose money. Wrong. So remember, inventory is beginning inventory plus purchases minus ending gives me use. Well, I take a beginning inventory of all the products I give away for free, plus the purchases or prepped items I give away for free. Total, what I could have available. Ending inventory of those items I give away for free, subtract it. It tells me the use, how much money I gave away for free. Now I go to that expensive cash register called the point of sale system, run an item by item sales mix report, PLU report, PMix, don't care what it's called. How many entrees only did I sell during that time period? Take that number, divide it into the amount of money that I gave away for free, come up with 25 cents, 35 cents, $1.25, doesn't matter what the number is. That is now an ingredient in every recipe costing card, and I charge enough that I don't give anything away for free. Awesome question. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go back and forth here. I've got another question over here on the question side. We'll be getting on your calendar with Tim for Becky's. Awesome. Love to talk to you. All right, come back down here on the chat. I'm going back and forth. Scott says, if we have 2 restaurants doing $17 million in revenue, rock on, would you recommend a kitchen manager / GM doing costing or hiring a financial analyst for both restaurants? Your chef and kitchen manager do recipe costing cards. Your GM verifies they're accurate. Nobody else can do your recipe cards but you. I can tell you, and I used to have a company, we had consulting. The person who knows the product is the person who uses that product. Now, it could be that your chef or kitchen manager, your leads in the kitchen, they write it all down, and your GM and front house managers put them into the software because you're trying to speed it up or somebody's not computer literate. But your people do it. I don't care what your volumes are. I'm not hiring somebody else to do my work because nobody knows the real execution. Oh, by the way, on a side note, when it comes for batch recipes, get back in the kitchen for all soups, side dishes, sauces, components of dish. Get in there and say, stop, weigh it, and write it down. On the line, when you go to your item recipe cards on a slow night, go stop, weigh it, write it down. Document what you're actually doing, not what you thought you were supposed to be doing 5 years ago. All right, next question. Sal, hey, what's up, Sal? What type of program should you use to enter food purchases each week? Should it include paper goods and figure in food cost? So if you're working with me, I've got my invoice log and paid out log, and you can do it very simply. And you can say to your broadline distributors, hey, when you give me my invoice at the bottom, don't give me this poultry, dairy, meat. That crap's, that's old school. Give me food, Jenny, paper, small wares. Categorize. So when I have that, I can just kind of say, here's my food purchases. That goes into food cost. Now, one of those is a trick question. What about paper? Well, now that goes back to recipe costing cards. Is paper a part of recipe card? Maybe. If I'm a taco shop All I sell is tacos. And every time you eat a taco from me, it's wrapped in a piece of parchment paper. You can't get a taco in your hand, can't have a taco in a plate, can't have a taco in a cup. You can only have it wrapped in parchment paper. Then that piece of parchment, that is food cost. I buy that as food. I inventory it as food. It goes on the recipe costing card as food. But if I'm a pizza place and 50% of my items are to go, my pizzas are to go, and then I've got the customer say, hey man, can I get a to-go box? And you're like, here, sure. And there goes $1.50. You're like, shit. Then that is paper expense. See, the rule is if I use the paper 100% of the time in the recipe, then it is food. Otherwise, it is a paper expense that goes up and down with sales. Otherwise, programs, there's a lot. Sal, you've got a direct line to me. We can talk about different software options that are out there. I don't put my flag on anything, even my old software. It's the one you use, fits your budget. That's easy enough, has the right interface, so on and so forth, but we need software. Let me see if I have any more questions. Looks like we have no more questions. I am almost at the end here. Questions going once, going twice. Done. Well, I'm going to thank everybody for being here on this webinar with me today. I hope it has opened your eyes, got you excited and motivated about the frickin' work I create, right? Because it can have a dramatic impact on your business. Imagine our friends who are on here, the $17 million in sales, assuming 50% of that is food or better, right? We're talking about you move the food cost 2 to 3 points. That is a dramatic, life-changing. Even if you're a $350,000 sandwich shop, that 3 points could be the difference to you making money or losing money. It is critical. I want to thank you all for being on today's webinar. I hope to see you on here again. Go out there and kick some ass. Thanks, everybody.